Welcome back to Girded with Truth. This week we are continuing our series called The Purpose Driven Life. And today I want to take it from the perspective of guarding against offense. Now, in our walk with God, there are certain things we have to learn, there are certain things we have to know, there are certain things we have to guard against. And offense is one of the things that we have to guard against. And offense is really a stumbling block that can cause us to deter or turn away from our walk with God. So guarding against offense is very important as we go through life being purpose driven. So let us guard against offense as we, really develop our relationship with God and pursue a life of purpose. 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 8 says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour." So the devil is seeking to put offense in our path, to put stumbling blocks in our path, to derail us from following God. But God is saying, no, be sober, be vigilant. Always be observant and be on the lookout for the devil who is trying to place that stumbling block in front of you. The Bible says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, spiritual wickedness in high places. So it means to say that if someone offends you, it is not really them you have to worry about, but you have to look beyond that. You have to be vigilant beyond that to see that it is not them, it is the devil simply using them. The spirit he has sent forth through them to affect you, to cause you from stumbling. So instead of blaming that person, yes, they might be wrong, yes, they might have done you wrong, but we have to mature in the faith enough where we come beyond who's wrong and who's right, and we see it for what it really is, an attack of the enemy, and we quickly reconcile from this thing. And Matthew chapter 5 verses 23 to 26 says, "Therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and remember that thy brother hath aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled with thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. Agree with thy adversary quickly, whilst thou art in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast in prison. Verily I say unto thee, thou shalt by no means come out thence till thou hast paid the uttermost farthing." So here, God is telling us, if you have something against your brother, he's not even talking about that. But if your brother have something against you, humble yourself and go and ask him forgiveness. Go and reconcile with him so that you will not have any offense. So that there will be no offense in you and there will be no offense against you. So God is saying here, humble yourself. He's saying here, mature on the faith. Come beyond who's wrong and who's right. Sit together and reason this thing out. Reconcile. He's saying agree with the adversary quickly. So in retrospect, it's not just you agreeing with your brother, it's not just you reconciling with your brother, but it's you agreeing with the adversary. Remember, we talked about we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Remember, we talked about that spirit operating in that person. So when you reconcile with your brother, you agree with the adversary. So that spirit has no dominion in that fight. That spirit cannot operate any longer because you have agreed with your adversary. Remember, 1 Peter 5:8 that we spoke about first says your adversary is the devil. So if you agree with the adversary quickly, not in terms of coming in alignment with the devil, but you leave no room for him to be able to accuse you, then that is you agreeing with your adversary, and he has no rule over you. He has no point of contact to you, and he has no dominion to say, well, he can accuse you of something. So agreeing with your adversary quickly is very important, because it means to say, if you have agreed and reconciled with your brother, then the devil has nothing in you that he can point to you that could bring you before the judge, that could put you in prison, that could deliver you to the officer, because it says that you will not be released until you have paid the uttermost farthing, which means that at some point you're going to have to humble yourself and reconcile. So why go through all of that? Yes, keeping your position is good. Yes, standing for something is good. And you must stand for something. You must have a standard. But some things aren't worth fighting over. Some things you can just release and allow God to work it out. Some things you don't have to stay on the boundary of right and wrong. Some things, it's just you maturing in the faith enough to say, no matter who's at fault, I'll humble myself, reconcile with my brother, we will dwell in forgiveness, and we will move on, because that is what God has called us to do. That is what will help me to go further into my purpose-driven life, and that is what will keep offense away from me. Matthew chapter 16 verse 23 says, "But he turned and said unto Peter, Get thee behind me, Satan, thou art an offense unto me, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men." So Peter was his disciple. It's not that Peter was a devil or Peter was Satan, but he was speaking to the spirit that was operating. Now Peter was speaking from a place where he loved Jesus and he wanted him to stay with him, but Jesus was saying, no, that is not the plan of God. To Jesus, the plan of God was the thing that was most important, and we have to reach to that place where we are not concerned about the issues of life. Yes, we are called to operate in life. Yes, we are called to make changes. We are called to connect to people. We are called to build relationships. But at some point, we are going to have to make decisions that would have us leave one place and go to the other, which would mean we would have to have the drive to disconnect from one area of life and reconnect to another. So we have to really discern what the Lord is saying to us and not dwell in offense. Offense in the context of a stumbling block. So Peter was trying to hold Jesus in the earth. He was trying to love him. He was trying to keep him, to dwell with him. So Peter wasn't really doing anything evil, but Jesus was so focused on his purpose. He was so driven towards purpose that he saw it as Peter doing something that was not pleasing to God. And Jesus is saying here to us, focus on the end goal, focus on me, focus on this purpose-driven life. Acts chapter 24 verse 16 says, "And herein do I exercise myself to have always a conscience void of offense towards God and towards men." So we have to keep ourselves clear of all offense. Anything that would be a stumbling block, unforgiveness, hatred, all these things that are not pleasing to God, anything that can be an offense to Him or that can stop us from walking through this purpose-driven life. God has called us to guard against offense and to walk in purpose. So as we pursue God, as we pursue our destiny, as we walk in purpose, let us guard against offense. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.